Hey everyone, welcome to this daily Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for March 21st of 2016, Monday. My name is Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link because the signs are different. All right, so big week. It's been a very big month, in fact, with all these eclipses. And so this week we're approaching the lunar eclipse, the high point, the full moon energy, and that's going to be in Virgo. So it's going to be all about that self-improvement, refining our true self, and really taking that grounded approach to life. Now, in order to do that, in this cycle, it's been this past 2 weeks of releasing the old energies. You know, the last eclipse, the solar eclipse, was associated with the South Node. And the South Node is about releasing the old in this sense to make way for the new. Because now this lunar eclipse on Wednesday is about the new direction, the North Node, the life path, right? But we have to release the old to make way for the new. So now they're definitely gaining momentum. There's more awareness coming in this week. There's more momentum from a lot of the changes that perhaps we started implementing last week. And so now as we approach it on Wednesday, it's a good time to continue to move forward, specifically with where we want to focus our attention. Where do we want to set intentions and really move forward into this future life path? So today the moon is going to be in Leo, leading into that Virgo energy. And this is very significant because Leo teaches us the importance of self-expression. You know, before we get into the refining of the self, we have to know who the self is, what the self is, right? And who are we? Not so much in a sort of philosophical sense, but just in a way of feeling it. It's, you know, Leo, it's the fire, it's the spirit, accessing that inner flame. So it's excellent, you know, to express ourselves. It's excellent to do anything that is a form of that self-expression, of being ourselves. And in that way, we learn a lot during this time. And in fact, we are. Jupiter's retrograde through Leo, so there's a lot of this reflection. In fact, nothing's really out into the open about it. You know, it's supposed to be a bit of a mystery right now. It's supposed to be a bit of a reflection, right? Rehashing it, learning about our interests, learning about our self-expression, because it's all happening in this new way. You know, the North Node is shifting into Leo for the first time in 18 years, suggesting this new way of expressing ourselves now. And in many ways, this new self really coming to the forefront. But it's still reflective, you know, especially with Jupiter retrograde and the fact that the North Node is just barely inching its way into that constellation. So it's great for finding the middle path. In other words, to learn more about who we are through self-expression and reflecting on it and learning through experience. So that's going to be the moon energy. That's more of the emotional, fiery thing going on. Now, in terms of the masculine side, the sun is in Pisces. And so this is more about the fact that right now we're supposed to be kind of working behind the scenes. We're supposed to be going with the flow right now, connecting to that vastness of life, right? And through that, we're accessing our intuition. We're learning more about living in the present moment. We're learning more about connecting to all that is. And in that, we're gaining energy. We're gaining prana, which is that sun. So that's the lunar and solar energies of today as we approach that lunar eclipse. Now, we are coming off of that Venus conjoining up to Neptune aspect from Sunday, so things are a bit dreamy today. You know, this is a little bit more of the internal energy, especially when it comes to relationships, especially when it comes to our values. In fact, we can enjoy that dreamy, compassionate, and unconditional energy in relationships and maybe even with our values here today. So the dreaminess and the fog and that kind of thing is great when you're connecting to it in the present moment. And it can make it very enjoyable in that sense. But that's going to be waning here today, probably becoming less and less in that sense. Now, it is going to be accentuated, though, because the moon is going to be conjoining up to that conjunction from Leo. Because this Venus-Neptune has been in Aquarius. And this is the fact that over many years we've been learning to access that true self. But the true self isn't accessed necessarily knowingly. You know, Neptune reminds us that there's a spiritual connection. There's an intuitive connection, a feeling that we connect to in terms of that true self. Okay, without having to label it, without having to understand it. And that's something that can be very powerful here today, to connect to that intuitively. So the big thing with the opposition is that Aquarius shows us that we have to really be our unorthodox self. Right? In order to express ourselves, which is that Leo energy, we have to realize that we're all very unique. We're all very different. That's what Aquarius shows us. And it's through accessing that eccentricity that we gain the freedom to express ourselves. But we have to do both. That's the balance. Once we access that true self, that eccentricity, we got to express it. And in order to express it, we got to access it. Okay, so that's the balancing energy. And I feel like that's probably going to be the strongest energy of the day in that sense. Now, as the day unfolds, we do approach that Jupiter squaring up to Saturn energy in terms of it being activated by the moon. Moon's going to go over that Jupiter retrograde. And so towards the second half, there's probably going to be some inspiration. Okay, and it's more of the internal kind of inspiration because Jupiter's retrograde. But still, something inspiring. Seeing that future life path. Learning more about it. Now with the square, because Saturn is squaring up to Jupiter, Saturn's right there in the middle of the future and the past, of the north node and the south node in this T-square, reminding us that in order to build this future life path, it's got to be meaningful. It's got to be real. It's got to be raw. It's got to be a real expression and a true expression of not only ourselves, but what is meaningful to us. And that's what a fucus represents with Saturn here. We can't build anything in our life unless it has that meaningfulness. So if we approach it in that sense of wanting to build, wanting to be patient, wanting to see the long road versus the short-term road with Saturn, then that makes this a very constructive time. And it could be a very constructive day in that sense. All right. The moon will be trining up to Pluto as well, which has been Pluto really creating easy aspects up to all this change, in fact. So there's the power to make change with all of this as well. All right. But the strongest energy of the day is certainly going to be this opposition between the moon in Leo, which is, again, finding that healthy form of self-expression, finding that new way of expressing ourselves, and balancing that with the Aquarius energies of accessing that very unorthodox, very different, unique self, perhaps in relationships, but most importantly through connecting to it in that sensitive, in that feeling sort of way, which is Neptune. All right, so I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.